Imagine getting a call that your 40-year-old patient just died. I don't have to imagine it. I got that call a month ago. And that patient didn't die in a car accident or from cancer. He died from the comorbidities related to obstructive sleep apnea. When that patient presented to my office initially, he had all the signs and symptoms of obstructive sleep apnea. Large neck circumference, BMI greater than 35, hypertension, acid reflux, broken teeth, severe wear, decreased vertical dimension of occlusion. At the time, I restored his teeth, I restored his vertical. I treated his symptoms, and I missed his problem, his airway. My goal in the next 10 minutes is to make all of you create the paradigm shift to look at airway first and not teeth. The fact is, I made the mistakes, right? I was wrong. And that's really the theme of my talk today. I was wrong. And I made the paradigm shift in a big way. I'm 48 years old, and I'm in an orthodontic residency, right? So now the question, why is this guy 48 years old and back in school? And why at 45 did I sell my restorative dental practice? Let me tell you my story and take you on my journey. I received a scholarship from the US Navy for dental school. Had a great career in the military, loved being in. Got out, had an opportunity to train with Larry Rosenthal at Aesthetic Advantage. I learned a ton about cosmetic dentistry and smile design. Things were great. I was doing veneers, crowns, working with some great specialists. One specialist in particular, Jim Jacobs, not only became a mentor, but one of my best friends. And Jim saw something special in me, and he wanted me to take my skills to the next level. The fact is, I thought I was already at the next level. But he flew me out to Seattle to train with John Kois at the Kois Center. At that point, I was 35 years old. I thought I was hot shit and knew it all. And that first day at the Kois Center was the most humbling experience I had to date. I realized just how little I knew. I ended up finishing the Kois Continuum in just under 2 years, became a mentor out at the center. I then was invited to join a very prestigious prosthodontic practice in Manhattan, New York. Things were great. I was doing full mouth rehab cases, veneers, crowns, deprogramming every patient. I had the confidence to tackle anything that walked through the door. I also had the privilege of joining a Kois study group in Manhattan for mentors in the New York area, and this is where my story takes an interesting twist. One of the dentists in the group, Vic Avis, who's an amazing dentist out of Staten Island, every time we would discuss a full mouth rehab case or a case with severe wear or a collapsed vertical, Vic would always inquire about an airway or sleep issue. Initially, I blew it off. However, after the 50th time of hearing Vic talk about it, I said, you know what, maybe there's some validity in this airway sleep thing. So I picked Vic's brain, and he taught me so much about airway and sleep. He also told me he trained with an airway orthodontist, Barry Raphael, who ran an airway residency program, and Vic suggested I do the same. So I took the plunge. I went to train with Barry, and I learned about all the signs and symptoms of obstructive sleep apnea and realized they're the things we see every day in our practice. Abfractions, broken teeth, severe wear, narrow buccal corridors, crossbites. They're all signs and symptoms of a bigger problem, an airway and sleep issue. Listen, you don't know what you don't know, and I sure as heck did not know. And I made those mistakes and I was wrong. And standing on this stage saying I was wrong, for me, is pretty profound. Fast forward to 2018, I want to learn how to fix the problems and not the symptoms anymore. The more I dug deeper, I realized that orthodontics was really a way to fix the problem, grow the airway, and really improve the anatomy in relation to snoring and sleep apnea. However, the aha moment for me was when I watched the Finding Connor Deegan video. It's a video about a young boy who was diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder and ADD. This kid was getting shuffled around from doctor to doctor, put on multiple meds. Everyone gave up on this kid except his dentist. His dentist recognized that Connor's tonsils and adenoids, as well as his anatomy, was preventing him from getting the proper oxygen to his brain, thus affecting his neurocognitive behavior. Connor had his tonsils and adenoids removed, eventually orthodontics and expansion. The dentist saved this kid. Listen, ADD and ADHD can no longer be the default diagnosis for every kid that comes in with a behavior problem or a cognitive issue. Listen, we need to do better. We all do, as a society, for all these kids. So I decided at that point, I was 45, I'm going to sell my practice and go and do an orthodontic residency. It sounds pretty crazy saying it out loud, by the way. So fast forward, I find out about a new orthodontic program in Hoboken, New Jersey called CTOR, which stands for Consortium for Translational Orthodontic Research. The director, Manny Alicani, is really a pioneer in orthodontics and craniofacial orthopedics. So I emailed Dr. Alicani, I send him my CV and essay, and we schedule an interview for June of 2018. Prior to the interview, I reach out to my best friend who's an orthodontist to get his advice for the interview. He says, Layne, just be yourself, you'll do great. Just don't bring up that airway and sleep crap. Great, Dave, this is the whole reason I'm doing ortho. He's like, listen, it's controversial, I wouldn't bring it up. I'm like, fine, I'll wing it. I end up going to meet Dr. Alicani. We're sitting there talking. He brings up the airway residency. And I'm completely transparent. And I tell him my story like I'm telling all of you. He takes his glasses off, says, I love your story. Could you start in 12 weeks? I was in shock. Long story short, I sold my restorative dental practice and I started the orthodontic program. Things were great. I was on my way to becoming an airway orthodontist. However, in 2019, I found out that a patient at our old office passed away, Ron. He was 55, and he died of heart failure. Obviously, I was saddened by this. Ron really became part of our family. The bigger issue, in 2017, I broached the subject with Ron about his airway and sleep. I knew he had sleep apnea. He had all the signs and symptoms similar to the 40-year-old I discussed at the start, right? We talked about it: large neck circumference, BMI greater than 35, hypertension, acid reflux, broken teeth, severe wear, collapsed vertical. What did I do? I restored his teeth. I restored his vertical. I even made him an upper night guard to protect the beautiful veneers I did. The fact is, I probably made his airway and sleep worse. Listen, it was a better response than 2 years prior. At least I broached the subject. But I should have and could have done better. I decided at this point, you know what? I'm going to become a diplomate of the American Board of Dental Sleep Medicine and not only help myself, but help every dentist recognize and treat the signs and symptoms of obstructive sleep apnea. So I did the Tufts residency. I basically took the sleep boards last year. I passed, and now I'm a diplomat of the American Board of Dental Sleep Medicine. Listen, it's great I have those credentials and letters behind my name. However, you all don't need to be diplomats or orthodontists to recognize the signs and symptoms of sleep apnea. We see it every day, right? Like I said before, abfractions, broken teeth, severe wear. I can never unsee these things. You know, a perfect example is this, the FedEx logo. We see it every day. Yet someone pointed out to me between the E and the X is a white arrow. You know what? I can never unsee the white arrow, and I never want any of you to unsee the broken tooth, the wear, the cross bites. They're all signs of a bigger problem. I was wrong and I made those mistakes. There's a great quote by Eleanor Roosevelt. Learn from the mistakes of others. You can't live long enough to make them all yourself. Before I finish, I want to leave you with 3 things. First, the next time someone comes in with broken teeth, severe wear, crossbite, be curious. Ask questions about snoring and sleep apnea. Questions are our best tools. Second, start treating the problems and not the symptoms. And lastly, you can't unsee what you already see. Just see it differently, treat it differently. You could save a life. Thank you.